Laura first meets Elliot down at the marina. She is there with her husband Greg and their young son Jimmy, getting things in order on their boat. While Greg is busy, Laura struggles a bit with the gear, and Elliot steps in to help. Laura tries to play it cool, but you can tell she is caught off guard by how attentive he is. Not long after, while Laura and Greg are talking, Jimmy suddenly falls into the water. Elliot does not hesitate for a second. He jumps in and pulls Jimmy out before anything worse can happen. Laura and Greg are shaken but incredibly grateful, and they invite Elliot to stay and grill with them. As Elliot and Greg cook together, Laura and her friend Mira cannot stop watching Elliot. He has that confident, fit energy that instantly grabs attention, and Elliot keeps sneaking glances back at Laura too. It feels like interest is building on both sides, even if nobody says it out loud. And just like that, everything begins in infidelity in suburbia. That night, Elliot is invited to dinner as well. During the meal, Laura mentions she has been wanting a new kitchen setup at home, but Greg is always too busy to make time for it. Elliot casually offers to handle it, explaining he has done this kind of work before and he is currently free. Laura and Greg agree to hire him to build the new kitchen for them. Later, when Laura and Greg go to bed, Greg tries to be affectionate, but Laura is not really in the mood. Their relationship has clearly been tense lately, and Greg being constantly focused on work is only making it worse. In the end, they just go to sleep. The next day, Elliot starts the job at Laura's house. He sketches out the plan and shows it to her, walking her through what he is going to build. But Laura can barely focus, and it is obvious she is distracted by him. So she steps away, letting him get to work while she heads inside to shower. And even while she is trying to clear her head, she cannot stop thinking about him. The attraction is starting to feel a little too real. While she is in the shower, Elliot suddenly comes in, almost like he is checking on her. Laura senses something, but she brushes it off, telling herself she is just imagining things. Later, Laura goes to the supermarket and she runs into Elliot again. They chat casually, and Elliot knows exactly how to charm her. He treats her with this smooth, playful attentiveness, even feeding her juice and a pastry like it is the most natural thing in the world. And Laura, without meaning to, gets even more drawn in. As they keep talking, Laura asks where he is from and whether he has family. Elliot explains that his parents divorced a long time ago, he was an only child, and he took care of his mother until she passed away. After that, the conversation winds down, and they both head home. But the tension between them is clearly growing. Before long, while Elliot is busy working, Laura's neighbor Mira suddenly shows up. From the moment she arrives, it is clear that Mira has already taken an interest in Elliot. She did not come by accidentally at all. She clearly wants to get closer to him. However, Elliot acts polite but distant, nothing like the way he behaves around Laura. Not long after, Laura joins them, and once she arrives, Elliot quietly goes back to focusing on his work. Mira then casually tells Laura how lucky she is to have such a handsome and fit handyman. Laura only laughs it off, brushing the comment aside. A little later, Laura invites Elliot to help her tidy up the boat. While cleaning, she suddenly finds a pair of purple underwear lying there. Her heart sinks immediately. She assumes her husband must have cheated on her there the night before. When Elliot notices her crying, he asks what is wrong. Laura explains that the underwear does not belong to her, and that she is sure her husband has been unfaithful with his assistant, Hannah, who once posted photos wearing the same color. To her, that is all the proof she needs. Seeing Laura so upset, Elliot gently comforts her. He invites her inside and makes her some tea. He treats her with warmth and care, and the way they look at each other makes it clear that something deeper is starting to grow between them. After a while, Laura decides to head home. Before she leaves, Elliot gives her a blanket so she will not get cold. That simple gesture pulls her even deeper into her emotions. After Laura leaves, Elliot is seen alone on his boat, quietly crying. He looks at an old photo of himself as a child with his mother, clearly missing her deeply. Strangely, he then scribbles over his father's face in the picture and replaces it with a photo of himself as a child. Later that night, Laura asks her husband where he was the previous evening. Greg tells her he was working late at the office. When Laura asks if he was with Hannah, he denies it. Still, Laura does not fully believe him. The next morning, Elliot returns and continues his work like usual. This time, Laura's son Jimmy seems especially close to him, sticking by his side and clearly enjoying his company. Seeing that makes Laura feel even more drawn to Elliot, especially because he connects so naturally with her child. After chatting for a bit, Laura goes inside to take a shower. While she is bathing, Elliot quietly enters the bathroom. Laura is startled at first, but deep down she already has feelings for him. In that moment, she gives in, and the two of them cross a line they should never have crossed. Later, Laura goes to the boat and meets her husband, who happens to have the day off. She acts completely normal, as if nothing has happened, even though she has just betrayed him. Greg casually mentions that the night before some teenagers were seen fooling around on the boats nearby. Laura is shocked when he adds that he also found a purple pair of underwear on their boat. Greg assumes it must have belonged to those reckless teens. Hearing that, guilt starts to weigh heavily on Laura. She had accused her husband in her mind, even though she was the one who had crossed the line. The next day, Laura approaches Elliot while he is playing ball with Jimmy. She asks her son to go play with the neighbors so she can speak with Elliot alone. She leads him into the storage area and tells him that what they did was wrong. She reminds him that she is married and says they need to end everything between them. But Elliot refuses to back off. He flirts with her, pushes closer, and overwhelms her. In the end, Laura gives in again, and they cross the line for the second time inside the house. After that, Elliot returns to his boat, completely consumed by his obsession with Laura. He keeps photos of her, even cutting out her husband's face and replacing it with his own. He smiles to himself, clearly pleased with what he has done. The next morning, Elliot shows up again at Laura's house, this time with flowers in his hands. He has lost all sense of boundaries. He says he brought them because it is her birthday. Moments later, Greg comes outside and asks what the flowers are for. Elliot casually says they are just a birthday gift for his wife. Greg does not suspect a thing and soon leaves for work. As soon as he is gone, Laura lashes out at Elliot. She tells him he has gone too far and begs him to stop before her family is destroyed. She makes it clear that she does not want to see him again and that he is no longer welcome in her home. Hearing this crushes Elliot, and his expression shows just how deeply it affects him. After that incident, Elliot no longer came to work at Laura's house. Even so, he continued watching her from a distance, keeping a quiet eye on her life. Not long after, Laura hosted a birthday party at her home. Unexpectedly, Elliot showed up too, invited by her husband, who had no idea Elliot no longer worked for them. Laura tried to act normal, even though his presence made her nervous. She was afraid he might expose their secret. Elliot acted calm, but he never stopped watching her, especially when she was with her husband. The jealousy was clearly eating at him. During the party, Elliot was introduced to Greg's assistant, Hannah. From the moment she saw him, Hannah was clearly interested. She tried to get close, but Elliot barely paid attention. His focus stayed on Laura, and he seemed lost in his own thoughts. Feeling uncomfortable, he eventually decided to leave. As he walked away, Hannah followed him and asked to go with him. At that moment, Elliot seemed to have something else in mind. After the party ended, Laura got ready for bed. Suddenly, she received a message from Elliot saying he needed her and would do anything to have her. Laura firmly replied and told him to stop contacting her. At that moment, Elliot was actually on his boat with Hannah. Hannah was eager and clearly wanted to be close to him, but Elliot showed no interest at all. This confused and upset her. Then she noticed something disturbing. The walls of the boat were covered with photos of Laura. That was when she realized the truth. Elliot was obsessed with Laura, and before she could react, Elliot killed her without hesitation. The next morning, Laura walked her husband out as he left for work. Their relationship seemed warmer than it had been in a long time, likely because of the guilt she had been carrying. But after he left, she was shocked to find threatening messages written all over her storage room. She immediately knew Elliot was behind it. Fear took over as she rushed to find her son, worried something had happened to him. Jimmy said Elliot had been there earlier but had already left. Terrified, Laura tried to calm herself, but not long after, Elliot showed up again. He claimed he only wanted to finish the kitchen work. Laura snapped, reminding him that she had already fired him and told him to stay away. Elliot ignored her words and said he wanted to replace her husband because he loved her. Laura was completely shaken. She warned him that she would call the police if he did not leave her alone. Hearing that, Elliot became furious. He threatened to expose their affair to everyone, including her husband, if she went to the police. After that confrontation, Elliot finally left. That night, Laura starts to wonder who Elliot really is. She goes online and searches for information about him on a local contractor website. There, she finds a review warning that Elliot is dangerous. That immediately raises alarm bells. Curious and uneasy, Laura decides to dig deeper. She visits the woman who posted the review and asks her about Elliot. The moment she hears his name, the woman's expression changes. She explains that Elliot once worked at her house and that he was dangerous. Her family and marriage were destroyed because of him. She then tells Laura that if she truly wants to understand who Elliot is, She should look into what happened to his mother. Laura grows even more unsettled and tries to ask more questions, but the woman refuses to say anything else. She is clearly afraid of getting involved. Meanwhile, Hannah's body is discovered in the river near the harbor. The news spreads quickly, and the police believe she was murdered. That same night, Elliot sneaks into Laura's house and captures Greg. From her bedroom, Laura hears strange noises downstairs. Feeling uneasy, she grabs a stick and slowly goes to check. The house feels eerily quiet, and her husband is nowhere to be seen. As she moves further, she notices their family photos have been torn apart and removed. The front door is wide open. Terrified, she shuts it quickly. Outside, she sees Elliot watching the house while burning photos of her family. The next morning, Laura tells Mira what happened the night before. She explains that someone had entered the house, but she did not see who it was, and her husband was gone. Mira suggests it might have been Greg who stepped out and forgot to lock the door, but Laura knows that does not make sense. Greg would never do that. Because she trusts Mira, Laura finally admits the truth. She confesses that she had an affair with Elliot and now deeply regrets it. She feels trapped and terrified knowing he is now stalking her. She explains that Elliot refuses to let her go and has become completely obsessed with her. Hearing this, Mira becomes frightened too and warns Laura to be extremely careful. She fears Elliot might do something truly dangerous. Meanwhile, Greg wakes up tied inside his boat. With great effort, he manages to loosen himself and break free. As he looks around, he sees countless photos of Laura and their family covering the walls. Before he can react any further, Elliot suddenly appears and violently attacks him, leaving Greg badly beaten. At the same time, Laura continues searching for the truth about Elliot. She goes to a small cafe that Elliot once mentioned he loved visiting. There, she notices an old photo hanging on the wall. It shows Elliot as a child standing beside his mother. Laura asks the elderly woman who owns the cafe about the photo. The woman confirms that the boy is Elliot and explains that he and his mother used to come there often. She then shares what she knows about his past. Elliot was a troubled child, strange and overly attached to his mother. His father had abandoned them when he was young, which deeply affected him. As he grew older, his behavior became more disturbing. He acted as if he were his mother's partner rather than her son. When his mother later remarried, things became even worse. Not long after, she and her new husband died in a house fire. There were rumors that Elliot himself had started the fire out of jealousy. Hearing this, Laura is completely shaken. She realizes that the man she had been involved with is not only dangerous, but deeply unstable and lonely. Panicking, she tries calling Greg, but there is no answer. Her fear grows as she realizes she has no idea where her husband is. Not long after, Laura returns home with her son. The moment she steps inside, she is horrified to find Elliot already waiting in her kitchen. He calmly says he came to fix their relationship. At that moment, Laura is certain that Elliot has taken her husband. She demands to know where Greg is. As she keeps pressing him, Elliot becomes more aggressive and begins to hurt her, even with her child nearby.
Don't you talk about my mother!
She died in a house fire.
Laura finally tells him she knows the truth, that he was the one who killed his mother and her husband. Elliot admits it, saying he did it out of jealousy because his mother chose another man. Laura is then taken upstairs and tied up.
I have.
Realizing she cannot overpower him, she changes her approach. She pretends to accept him, telling him she now understands that he is the one meant to be with her. She claims she loves him, hoping he will let her see her child again. The plan works. Elliot loosens his grip and allows her to sit with her son at the table.
It's okay. Everything's gonna be all right.
For a moment, he seems calmer and more trusting. When he steps away to get drinks, Laura tries to call out for help through the window. But before she can get anyone's attention, Elliot returns and stops her. She is forced back upstairs and her son is sent to his room. At this point, Elliot completely loses control and tries to force himself on Laura. But just as it is about to happen, Jimmy walks in and sees everything. That moment triggers a sudden flashback in Elliot's mind. He remembers witnessing something similar when he was a child, seeing his mother with her new husband. The memory overwhelms him and leaves him shaken. Seeing her chance, Laura strikes Elliot and grabs Jimmy, rushing downstairs to escape. But Elliot recovers quickly and catches up to her. In a moment of rage, he attacks Laura and strikes her with a hammer. Believing she is no longer alive, he places her body into a bag and prepares to leave the scene. However, Laura is still alive. As Elliot gets ready to leave, she slowly regains consciousness and attempts to escape. Elliot notices and chases after her once again. In the struggle, Laura manages to stab him in the stomach with a knife she is holding. As she tries to flee, Laura notices a trail of blood leading toward the boat. She follows it and discovers her husband still alive, tied up inside. She frees him immediately and tries to call the police, but her phone is still inside the house, and the boat's radio has been disabled. Despite his injuries, Elliot is not dead yet. He appears again and continues chasing Laura. She runs as fast as she can, desperate to escape. Eventually, Elliot weakens from blood loss. Using all her remaining strength, Laura pushes and kicks him away. This time, he falls and does not get back up. In the end, Elliot is finally dead, and Laura and her husband survive the nightmare together. So the moral of the story is never trust a charming handyman with unresolved issues, because one small favor can turn into total chaos.